as Hurricane Katrina pounds Louisiana and Mississippi. Stay with 11 News for the most complete coverage of this killer storm. Live reports throughout the day and night, showing you the latest pictures of the devastation. From the eye of the storm to Katrina's impact on Houston, 11 News has more reporters covering this story from every angle. And turn to hurricane expert Dr. Neil Frank for the most reliable track of Katrina. For the most up-to-the-minute coverage of Katrina, trust 11 News. Everything you need to know. This is 11 News This Morning.
Powerful wind and driving rain roll across the Gulf Coast.
The city of New Orleans has never seen a hurricane of this strength.
The Big Easy is a virtual ghost town. Streets still visible for now.
It's a vast area that'll be totally underwater.
A sea of headlights as hundreds of thousands evacuate.
I don't know what I'm going back to, if I'm coming back to anything at all.
For those who could not leave, a dome of protection to ride out the storm as Hurricane Katrina comes ashore.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining 11 News this morning. I'm Deborah Duncan.
And I'm Ron Trevino. Hurricane Katrina is a little weaker than it was, but it's still packing a major punch as it gets set to hit southern Louisiana, including New Orleans. Taking a live look now, the storm was downgraded to Category 4 overnight, but the hurricane is still expected to cause a massive storm surge and heavy winds.
Let's start off this morning with the latest on the storm and meteorologist David Paul, who is in our weather center. And David, when we say downgraded to Category 4, that's really not saying much. It's still a very powerful storm.
It's still a very powerful storm, and it's going to do a tremendous amount of damage, not only in the New Orleans area, but also down the coast toward Biloxi. In particular, they may take a very hard hit as well. Here's the radar. I'll put this in motion for you. You can see the loop as Katrina moves toward the southeast Louisiana coastline. It's now just about 80 miles south-southeast of the direct New Orleans area. It looks like New Orleans is going to take a hit from the west side of the eye wall. Here's the eye of the hurricane. Looks like they'll have the west side of the eye go right over New Orleans. The stronger side, the east side of the eye, looks like it wants to travel right along to the Mississippi coastline. It looks like the center may graze southeast Louisiana, then take a direct hit on Biloxi, Mississippi, and they may take the worst of it. Now, New Orleans is still going to have a terrible day today, and of course we'll continue to update you. And here it is in motion over the past hour as the center creeps toward the coastline. Folks in Grand Isle reported a wind gust there over 100 miles an hour during the past few minutes. All right, let's talk about where Katrina has been, moving right on through the open waters of the Gulf, zooming up towards southeast Louisiana, now at 28.8 north, 89.6 west. Max winds at 150 miles an hour. That's strong Category 4. Category 5 would be 155 miles an hour. The forecast takes it right on through southeast Louisiana, through South Mississippi, and takes it right up into the nation's heartland. And they're going to have some tremendous inland damage as well, as this big storm will carry hurricane-force winds all the way into central Mississippi. Right now at Bush Intercontinental Airport here in Houston, it's quiet. 78 degrees right now. Humidity 82%. Winds are north-northwest at 8 miles an hour. And the forecast for today in Houston, a hot August day. High temp 97. 20% rain chance today. And rain chances just about zip for the next several days. Highs in the mid to upper 90s. And we'll continue to give you more weather updates on Katrina. There's your weather right now. Back over to the news desk.
All right. Thank you very much, David.
We have crews in Louisiana and here in the Houston area this morning covering the impact from this massive storm. 11 News reporter Janice Williamson is in Baton Rouge checking out how people there are coping with the huge evacuation.
And Reggie Akey and Carolyn Campbell are in Chambers County and Galveston with more on the storm's impact closer to home. We begin with Janice Williamson, where emergency workers are scrambling to accommodate everyone streaming into their city. She joins us live at the Emergency Operations Center in Baton Rouge with more. Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Deborah. We are actually outside here on the LSU campus this morning. Everything well under control. We are starting to see those bands of rain come across here pretty regularly this morning. The wind is just now starting to kick up a little bit. Now, as we drove to the satellite position this morning, the streets of Baton Rouge were pretty much deserted. The people here are hunkered down, waiting for the storm to pass. Now, a lot of people who evacuated from New Orleans and other low-lying areas are filling up the shelters here. We're told there's been a steady stream of evacuees coming in throughout the night. A family from Plaquemine Parish told us they are glued to the television. Any new little bit of information is a comfort.
It makes me feel better to be able to know what's going on, but it's kind of sad to know that it's hitting us direct, that we may be going home to nothing.
Now, we're told that there are more than 3,000 people in Baton Rouge shelters this morning. Hotels, of course, are packed. There's not a room to be had in this city today. Now, we have not heard of any major power outages here yet, but of course, the hurricane force winds are not expected to be felt here for another several hours or so. Now, with Katrina sliding a little bit further to the east than expected, the capital city is just that much further away from the storm. Live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Janice Williamson, 11 News.
All right, thank you very much, Janice. Some people decided to stay in New Orleans. Joining us on the phone right now is Amanda Gallegos, who has decided not to leave. Amanda, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, you've heard all the news of how strong this storm is, and you decided to stay. Why?
Well, like I said on the interview last night, I'm just hard-headed, and my husband owns 2 businesses here, and I'm an animal lover. I have a lot of pets that I would have had to travel with, and I saw the horrific traffic that was going east and west.
How have you fortified your home?
Very safe. The wind is blowing very hard outside. It just started. There's some very extremely strong gusts. The wind is whipping, but luckily there is no flooding, which is the one major fear that we have here in New Orleans.
Yeah, no flooding yet, but have you been through a storm, a really severe storm before?
No, I haven't. I've been through Andrew, but Andrew just brazed us in 1992. But as far as a hurricane coming this close, like Betsy did in '65, no.
All right, Amanda, we wish you the best of luck in riding through that storm. Of course, covering news in this business, we've seen cases where people have decided to stay and wish they hadn't, but we hope that you're going to be okay.
All right.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Now on the phone, we have Mike DeRoche. He's an emergency official with Terrebonne Parish, which is near New Orleans. Mike, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Describe the situation there.
Right now, we are going through a pretty bad squall. We got some rain and heavy winds going on as we speak.
And where is Terrebonne Parish in relation to New Orleans? People here in Houston may not know.
We're about 57 miles southwest of New Orleans.
And is it like a ghost town there in your parish?
No, we got over 3,000 people in shelters, and was about 50% of the residents did evacuate to higher ground.
Do you feel like your area is ready for this now in terms of what emergency officials there have done?
We're as ready as we can be. We've put the message out early and tried to get everything done early, and we just sitting back waiting for it to happen. The storm is going in just east of us, so we're on the lesser side of the storm.
All right, thank you so much, Mike DeRoche from Terrebonne Parish.
All right, the time is 5:08. We want to take a live look at what's happening in Mobile, Alabama right now with a signal out of WKNG. If you can take a look there, they're looking at their satellite and where the storm is in relation to that area in Mobile.
Also, we have a live picture from the Superdome area near in New Orleans where thousands of people have sheltered in. Well, you can't see much from there. But this is a live picture from New Orleans.
Yeah, and of course, yesterday you just saw the lines that were so long, people trying to make it in there. And part of the big reason why it was taking so long is that they had to do security checks with everybody. And so, but thousands of people trying to make it to the Superdome who otherwise would have no place else to go.
Exactly. Well, many people didn't make it out of New Orleans, as we said, or they decided to wait out the storm. People hunkering down at one hotel say they're nervous about what's coming and are ready for a rough time.
I haven't been through a hurricane in several years.
A little bit nervous?
I'm all right.
What brings you to New Orleans?
We're here on vacation, actually. Couldn't get home, so here we are.
High and dry, good safe place to be.
So if the power goes out, not a big deal?
As long as we're all safe.
Oh, it's just devastating. It's the first time in 30 years that I've been on vacation and run into something like this.
The mayor of New Orleans says he believes 80% of the city's nearly 500,000 people followed the evacuation order.
And many of those who did evacuate made it to the Houston area, where they quickly filled up the hotel rooms.
Others are staying at some refugee evacuee centers in town. 11 News reporter Reggie Evacuees is live at one site with that story. Reggie.
Good morning. They're mostly doing this here in Mount Bellevue. The folks are coming here to the shelter because they don't really know where else to go. If you are on I-10 this morning, you'll find that there is basically no traffic going to the east. But if you're coming west towards Houston, it almost looks like rush hour this morning. Just taillight after taillight trying to make it in anywhere that will take them. And this is one of those spots that will take them this morning. We understand that about 75 people are at this shelter. The rest of the folks you'll find crowded at gas stations, filling up and trying to make a plan as to where to go. And they are not being very successful this morning because most of the hotels and motels along I-10 all along Louisiana into Texas towards Houston, they're all sold out, full of people who are trying to get away from this storm. I just talked to a couple of people inside the shelter who tell me that they started on their trip from New Orleans at 8 o'clock yesterday morning. They just got here to Mount Bellevue a couple of hours ago. And so this trip is extremely frustrating for them. And once they get here, they're realizing there's really nowhere to go except for shelters like these. They're finding signs along the highway advertising this Red Cross shelter, and they're pulling in because really they don't have any other options. Again, about 75 people here. The Red Cross tells me they have room for 25 more. In fact, they just brought some more cots, anticipating that more of those people are going to have to get out off I-10 into a shelter like this one because there aren't many options. Reporting live in Mount Bellevue, Reggie Evacuees, 11 News.
The American Red Cross has opened more than a dozen shelters so far. 5 are in Texas, including the one at the Mont Bellevue Senior Center on Eagle Drive. Evacuees are advised to call the Red Cross first to make sure space is available. That toll-free number is 1-866-GET-INFO, 1-866-GET-INFO.
We've also learned that anybody with a Louisiana license plate will have a spot to park downtown for free. Those drivers can head to the Apex parking lot on Leland and LaBranch.
Texas Task Force 1, the state's elite search and rescue team, will be helping out in Louisiana. The team helped search for survivors at Ground Zero after 9/11. It has also helped out at other disasters, including recent hurricanes. Up to 200 members of the Texas State Guard were also activated. They will be helping with shelter operations and assisting the American Red Cross with evacuees in southeast and eastern Texas. The time is now 5:11. Coming up, how some last-minute stragglers out of New Orleans had a tough time escaping from the storm.
Galveston has some unplanned guests after a cruise ship is forced to adjust its trip through the Gulf because of Katrina. All right, taking a live look. It's hard to see, but that is actually the dome where people have gone in New Orleans to stay. People who had no place else to go. And yesterday you could see lines, long lines of thousands of people who were trying to check in.
Yeah, thousands of people are there in the Superdome this morning. All right, we have crews all over the place, including Jeremy Diesel, who's live in Hammond, Louisiana. We have him on the phone right now. Jeremy, what can you tell us?
Well, Ron, our morning started early. We're sort of hanging out here with the Hammond Fire Department at the Hammond Central Fire Station. Their hospitality has been fantastic to give us a place to kind of hunker down for the storm. And our wake-up call came about 4:15 this morning when alarms in the building started going off because the power had already gone out. The power has been out here in at least half of the city of Hammond that we can tell for already an hour and 15 minutes or so. Transformers popping from the high winds. We're getting gusts here that are hurricane force already. Nothing sustained at that level, and it appears by the looks of the way the clouds are coming across the sky that we are on the sort of left-hand side where the winds would be blowing from north to south at this point, which is good for the folks in Hammond, they say, because it means that they're moving to the left. What you just may have heard behind me is a wind-blown light standard that has fallen over and broken on the ground, and so we are starting to see some damage here as well. We are keeping our eyes on top of things, and luckily we're with the firefighters, so we're going to be able to actually go out and respond to some of the things that the folks here are calling in about, and being able to report them back to you as long as we have some phone service. So we're going to go ahead and keep watching and waiting for the worst of the storm to hit. That's clearly not happened yet, but we are in the mode where we are watching and waiting and seeing some hurricane force gusts. Ron?
Okay, and obviously, Jeremy, need to be very, very careful out on those streets. Any idea what the streets are like right there in Hammond?
Yeah, we can actually see pretty well because we're right on the fringe where there's power on one side and not power on the other side. The streets are pretty much clear. There's some debris out at this point. We've heard several reports come in of downed trees and downed limbs across side streets at the moment, but the main streets all appear to be open. The fire chief here tells me that if they get any major trees down across any of the major routes, at least for a while they deem it to be safe, they will get out and try to move those out of the way so that ambulances and police vehicles will be able to make their way around. In this location, there are fire trucks and National Guardsmen, fire trucks from other communities that are further south and further east that expected a whole lot more damage, and they brought their trucks and equipment here to park it to try to stay somewhat out of harm's way so they can move it back in as soon as they can. There are 4 ambulances here waiting to be dispatched, 4 full crews, and they have every firefighter, all 50 of them here in Hammond, on. All 3 of their normal 24-hour shifts are here, now working in 6-hour shifts to relieve each other, and they're going to do that for the near future. But so far, not a whole lot of calls quite yet. In fact, the biggest one have been annoyance calls coming in from people's automatic alarms going off, folks who aren't even home and their automatic alarms are going off because the houses are blowing around so much. They're not even going to bother going to check those calls out at this point.
Well, that's understandable. Okay, Jeremy Diesel in Hammond, Louisiana. We'll check in with you a little bit later this morning, and be careful.
All right, the time is 5:17. As we said, Baton Rouge is full of evacuees from the southern part of Louisiana, and some of them waited until the last minute to get out of the danger zone. Reporter Dave Cassidy joins us from Baton Rouge with more. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Ron and Deborah. We're live at the Mall of Louisiana in Baton Rouge, which is northwest of New Orleans. So far here, it's a little windy, a little rainy, but no severe weather here. The big concern is farther to east in New Orleans. Is Katrina going to make a direct hit on New Orleans or go a little east? That will determine whether we have something like a disaster on our hands in New Orleans. The good news this morning is a Category 4 hurricane, not a 5 as feared, but a 4 can still do a huge amount of damage. We have some pictures from nearby Hammond as the storm was coming through here this morning. All along the Louisiana coast, but particularly in New Orleans, the concern is where will all the water go? Most of the area in New Orleans and some of the areas around it below sea level. So when the water piles in, it's got nowhere to drain. There are pumping stations that can draw the water to other areas if they have electricity to operate them, if they're not flooded out by too much water. Since the main part of Katrina has yet to hit New Orleans, it's hard to tell how bad the situation is going to be there, but worst case, you could have a wall of something like 20 feet of water hitting New Orleans. For those of you who've been to the French Quarter, that would have the buildings there almost covered, and Lord only knows when that water would be able to get out of there, since it isn't going to drain away. So bottom line, still a potentially extremely serious situation. The good news is it's a 4, not a 5. Ron and Deborah, back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. Let's go over to David Paul right now. And David, we have said the good news is that at least the storm is weakening, but as the National Weather Service said, the difference is like, would you like to be hit by a freight train or an 18-wheeler? And neither one of those sound appetizing.
Well, it is going to be bad in New Orleans, but let me tell you, they're getting lucky in New Orleans this morning, and here's why. Not only has the storm weakened from yesterday afternoon's peak max winds around 165, 170 down to 150 now, but also New Orleans is going to catch the weak side of the storm. Now, it's still going to be bad, but it could have been a lot worse. Let's talk about it. Here's the latest radar view. You can clearly see the storm coming in toward New Orleans, and I'll zoom in on it right now, and we'll put it in motion. And you can pick out the center of the storm right there. I'll draw a circle around it. So here's the center, and here's where your strongest winds are, right around the center of the storm. This is tracking just about due north, and it looks like it's going to begin to turn off to the north-northeast over the next hour or two. And on that track, New Orleans is going to catch the western side of the eye wall. Now, it's going to be bad there. They're going to have a tremendous amount of damage, and it remains to be seen how much of Lake Pontchartrain ends up getting pushed southward into New Orleans. But the worst of the weather is on the right-hand side, the northeast side of the storm right in here. And that side of the eye wall is going to hit Gulf Shores, Mississippi, Biloxi, Mississippi. It looks like they are going to take the hardest hit and the worst from Katrina. I'll put this in motion once again. You can see it moving in toward Grand Isle, southeast Louisiana. The latest wind gust I had out of Grand Isle was out of the northeast, and they had a wind gust up to 101 miles an hour. That was about 45 minutes ago. I'm sure they're getting stronger gusts there now as they're getting toward the center. And again, right in here is where those 150-mile-an-hour sustained winds are located. And I'll zoom in a little bit closer down toward New Orleans. And remember, it's a complicated system down here toward New Orleans. They have Lake Pontchartrain right here, big shallow lake. And now they're getting hurricane force winds across that lake out of the north and northeast. And that's going to push Lake Pontchartrain up against the levees. And that's the big danger now, is how much of Lake Pontchartrain is going to be pushed into the city of New Orleans. Once again, here's Lake Pontchartrain, there's New Orleans, and the wind now will be pushing the lake toward New Orleans. And so it remains to be seen that levees are going to be able to hold and keep the lake and the river out of New Orleans. Let me give you a view of the track of the storm as it came on through the Gulf of Mexico and where it is right now. 28.9 north, 89.6 west with maximum sustained winds at 150 miles an hour. Katrina is a strong Cat 4 storm. And where's she going to go? It's going to continue up through Mississippi, and we will have hurricane force winds well inland, hurricane force winds into central and even northern Mississippi. And so folks will have tremendous damage up there. Katrina right now, I'm sure you can get me at the key though. Katrina right now is rotating around a dome of high pressure. There you are. Right here, following the upper level winds. That's what's turning Katrina to the north, and we'll have her race off to the north and east. This is going to create a lot of damage well inland as well because the system is so strong. Not only flooding, but wind damage as she continues to move inland. They'll have hurricane force winds all the way into north central Mississippi by tonight, and then tremendous rains across the Appalachian as she continues to race on to the north and east. Bush Continental Airport right now, 78 degrees, 82% relative humidity, dew point 72. It's a nice, quiet morning here in Houston. We're getting a little north breeze, northwest 17. We do have small craft caution in effect for the upper Texas coast, but we've had no problems with flooding as we have the offshore flow on the backside of Katrina here in the Houston-Galveston area. Forecast numbers for the day. A high temp going up to 97. 20% chance for a scattered shower for Houston, and the extended has it hot and humid and no rain chances for the next 3 days. There's your weather update.
The New Orleans Superdome is being called the refuge of last resort for residents. It's not going to be a comfortable stay.
Let's take another look at how people are sheltering there in New Orleans this morning, waiting out the storm.
All right, we're now taking a live look at the coast there in Biloxi, Mississippi, where the waters are beginning to rise there as well. All the southern towns, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, are feeling the effects of Katrina.
And of course, Mississippi could be getting the powerful northeast quadrant of the hurricane, which is not good for them. All right, the time is now 5:30. Many people were not able to leave the Big Easy, forcing city leaders to make the Louisiana Superdome the shelter of last resort. The line was long as thousands of people took shelter in the Superdome to avoid the storm. Its doors were open for those unable to get out of the city. First in line were the poor, the homeless, and the frail. The rest lined up for blocks as National Guardsmen searched them for guns, knives, and drugs. People were told to bring enough food, water, and medicine to last up to 5 days. The Superdome has 77,000 seats and bare floors.
All right, let's go to David Paul for the latest on Katrina. And also, David, when I came in this morning, there was a slight breeze outside. Is that kind of related to Katrina?
Absolutely is, Deborah. We're getting a light north and northeast breeze. In fact, we have been for the past 24 hours as we're on the west side of the storm. Large counterclockwise rotation around Katrina. And so, yes, Houston has been getting a little north and northeast breeze for the past 24 hours. That is in reflection and caused by Katrina. Put Katrina in motion for you. Category 4 hurricane winds of 150 miles an hour maximum sustained. New Orleans is taking a beating right now. They're getting gusts of wind above hurricane force. Last check across New Orleans had a gust to 83 miles an hour, and they're getting a very heavy rain band right now. Biggest threat for New Orleans right now, strong north winds pushing Lake Pontchartrain perhaps over the levees into New Orleans. We're waiting to see if that happens. I've not had any reports of levees being breached yet, but they're waiting for it. Storm is heading off to the north-northeast. Looks like New Orleans is going to be be on the weak side of the storm. However, they're still going to take a tremendous blow as the storm comes in later this morning. Looks like folks in Gulf Shores and Gulfport, Mississippi and Biloxi, Mississippi here will take the worst side of the Category 4 storm. Put the storm in motion for you as Katrina comes across the Gulf of Mexico, 28.9 north, 89.6 west, where she is now, and will continue to move on up into Mississippi with hurricane force winds well inland. There's the storm coming in towards southeast Louisiana and taking the heavy rain and wind with it. It's all being traveled around this dome of high pressure. This is helping to curve it to the north, being picked up by the trough now, and that will zip it right on up across the mid-Appalachian states, creating tremendous amounts of rainfall and a big flooding threat here as well. Bush Intercontinental Airport is 78 degrees. Forecast for the Houston area today. Just a summer day, hot, high 97, only a 20% rain chance today. The extended forecast, hot again for the next couple of days with highs in the mid to upper 90s.
Just gotten word that the eye of the storm has hit land just east of Grand Isle.
Grand Isle, Louisiana. Okay, the time is now 5:34. We'll have more from Baton Rouge, where many of the refugees are staying to wait out Katrina.
Many more in the Houston area packing hotels and shelters.
And another look at Katrina and people getting ready.
The time is 5:36. In the news this morning, Baton Rouge is a busy place this morning as refugees from South Louisiana try to escape Katrina.
Here in the Houston area, evacuees rapidly filled up hotels and shelters.
And taking another live look at Katrina, if we could. All right, actually taking a live look at New Orleans. I believe that's the Superdome where thousands of people lined up yesterday to get in to find shelter, people who had no place else to go.
And as we've heard earlier, the National Weather Service now says the eye of the storm has hit land east of Grand Isle, Louisiana.
This is 11 News this morning, our 5 o'clock hour. We thank you so much for joining us. I'm Deborah Duncan.
And I'm Ron Trevino. The time is now 5:37. We're continuing our coverage of Hurricane Katrina as it strikes our neighbors to the east. We have reporters all over the path of the storm, as well as here in Houston. Janice Williamson is in Baton Rouge with a look at how the evacuees are dealing with the storm, while Reggie Akey is with some refugees here in southeast Texas.
The time is 5:37. We begin with Janice Williamson, who is in Baton Rouge. She is live in that city's Emergency Operations Center with more on how they are dealing with a massive influx of refugees. Janice?
Well, Deborah, I think they're doing a pretty good job here. Now, we're outside here on the LSU campus, and the rain is starting to pick up a little bit. The wind is kicking up as well. Now, as we drove to our satellite truck position this morning a couple of hours ago, the streets were pretty much deserted. People here are hunkered down as they wait for that storm to pass. Now, a lot of people that evacuated from New Orleans and the other outlying areas are filling up the shelters here. We know at least one of them is now completely full. We're told there's been a steady stream of evacuees coming in throughout the night. A family from Plaquemine Parish told us they are glued to the television. Any little bit of new information is a comfort.
As long as my family fine, everything fine, it's okay. But hopefully when we come back, everything gonna be okay.
We are told there are at least 3,000 people in shelters here in Baton Rouge this morning. The hotels, of course, are completely full. Now, we have not heard of any major power outages here yet, but of course the hurricane force winds are not expected to be felt here for another several hours or so. And of course, with Hurricane Katrina sliding a little bit further to the east, that just puts the capital city a little bit further away from the storm. Let's go now to my colleague, Reggie Akey. Reggie?
Hi, Janice. We're seeing much the same thing that you are, on a smaller scale, certainly. But those folks who are not able to stay in Baton Rouge are making it this way towards Houston. What they're finding is there aren't many hotels that are open here for them to stay in. We are seeing a steady flow of traffic going towards Houston. A lot of those folks are extremely tired, and they're getting to this point here, a Red Cross shelter. And that's where I'm joined by Fran Perrin, who is here with the Red Cross. And Fran, you were telling me a few minutes ago you've decided to open up a second shelter because so many people are coming in.
That's correct. We're going to open the Baytown Community Center at 7 a.m. this morning. People traveling would need to take the 797 exit toward Baytown, travel about 5 miles, exit on the west main. There's 2 mains, so the west main exit, turn right, the shelter's right there on the right.
And you're doing that because when we arrived here, I don't know, an hour ago, there were 75 people. Now you're up to about 90, and you're worried this one's going to get full. Is that right?
Yes, this shelter comfortably does around 100 if they're going to have an extended stay, and with the current conditions that's going to hit, we feel like their stay will probably be a little bit longer this time than normal. So we're going to go ahead and open this second shelter so everybody can have room and be comfortable.
And you've seen folks coming in all night last night, and they continue to come in now. They look tired.
They're very tired. The people that came in that arrived around 5 a.m. left New Orleans at 10 o'clock yesterday morning. So they're exhausted and ready to get some rest.
All right, Fran, thank you so much. So once again, our area, the general Baytown area, there are going to be 2 shelters that are now open. Folks are going to find out about those along the highway, they're telling us, as they stop at different gas stations. The word is getting around that these Red Cross shelters are available to them. Lots of cots here ready for those folks, and many people are telling us they just want a cup of coffee and a couple hours of sleep. They've been going 15 or 16 hours in the car, and they need a rest. Reporting live, Reggie Akey, 11 News.
All right, thank you, Reggie. Let's go live now to Covington, Louisiana, and we have Kay Wilkins on the line. She is with the American Red Cross. And Kay, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so what's it like in the area you're in right now?
Well, we're seeing a lot of the bands of showers come toward us. Sometimes the rainfall is heavy, it gets a little bit lighter, and then it gets heavier again. We're seeing some street flooding, some power outages, and people are just waking up in the shelter. They're checking the news, and of course very worried about the homes they left behind.
Right. About how many people do you have there?
Well, all over the state, we have about 11,500 people. This shelter probably has about 50 to 60 people in it. But all through the night, we were seeing people come into our shelters, and we were just making room for them.
Yeah. Where is Covington located in relationship to New Orleans?
Covington is a straight shot north, about 30 miles from New Orleans. It's actually outside what we call the risk area, and we define that as Interstate 12.
All right, and what exactly at your shelter, how's it been fortified to deal with the weather?
Well, of course, windows have been boarded. We are looking at being able to move up if it looks as if it's going to flood. And we have food supplies positioned. And just as we've done in every other shelter, we've planned for the eventuality of being isolated for at least the next 24 hours and having to be self-sufficient.
And oftentimes, we always hear that, everybody has to evacuate, but the people with the Red Cross, you guys stay. And so it's a job that you do out of a labor of love and a labor of caring, and we thank you for doing that this morning.
Well, thank you for your thoughts and your concerns.
All right, Kay Wilkins, who is in Covington, Louisiana, at a shelter with the American Red Cross.
Now on the phone, we have Trooper Doug Pierre Lee, who is with the Louisiana State Police. Trooper, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from the State Police EOC in Baton Rouge.
Describe the situation there in Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, we're still in the quiet. It's really quiet right now. The preparation is over, and so we're just watching live feeds and listening to conference calls and talking to the people in the affected areas.
What's your main concern there in Baton Rouge?
Baton Rouge, we're getting people who are coming from these affected areas, housing people, keeping them fed, and have plenty of water. Logistics are not really a problem right now.
Mm-hmm. Are people still coming into Baton Rouge?
Well, we've got a few people who are still left out there, and we're kind of scanning the highways for any refugees, so watching basically the cameras that we have posted at any intersection. But it's still hours from affecting Baton Rouge. In fact, we just made landfall, and it made landfall in a marsh area. And so there's not many people who live in that location. So don't let any messages that you hear, any reports that the storm has diminished, change any of your safety plans. You need to stick with your plan and just listen for updates.
Trooper Lee, when somebody is, you issue an evacuation, are people, I guess, obviously they're not required to leave. How much pressure is put on them to leave?
Well, we give them as much information about the intensity of this storm, and people from South Louisiana are used to this. They like to fare these things out. They've done it so many times, and so that was a factor in getting people to leave this time. They've heard this, and they just expect it to be another cry wolf, and we let them know that this is not the case that time. In fact, we activated contraflow and kept it open for 27 hours.
All right, and also, well, what can you tell us about the conditions right there outside your window, so to speak, there in Baton Rouge?
I'm actually looking over a control room of a group of troopers, and that's been the hardest part of this thing, is not being able to get out there and help, any motorists. We're used to being first responders, and I guess that'll all start in the next several hours. But right now in Baton Rouge, it's just slightly windy. I mean, you can feel the storm starting to flex a little bit. Some of the tiles raise in here, but it's nothing like what it's going to be in New Orleans.
All right, thank you so much, Trooper Doug Pierre Lee from the Louisiana State Police, calling from Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. So people say, oh, we've been through storms before, but he was saying not like this.
Exactly. Category 4.
Yeah. David Paul, and is not so far off from a Category 5, is it?
It has winds of 150 miles an hour as of last check. 155 makes it a Cat 5, so it's just under Cat 5. I think that they're catching a little bit of a break on what could have been an absolutely catastrophic storm event. The storm is showing signs of weakening. Now, it's still a very powerful storm, but as it's making landfall, it looks like the storm is beginning to pull in a little bit of drier air from the mainland, pulling in some dry air, and that dry air is beginning to work its way into the storm, and that will begin to shut off its energy supply. And so the storm is not as bad as it was yesterday afternoon. Had winds yesterday afternoon above 170 miles an hour sustained. Right now they're getting hurricane force gusts and winds across Lake Pontchartrain. And the biggest fear right now that I have for New Orleans is that they'll have Lake Pontchartrain, or a bunch of Lake Pontchartrain, be pushed into the levees, maybe over the levees and into New Orleans. They're getting a very heavy rain band right across the heart of New Orleans right now. Here's the center of the storm. It has made landfall just to the southeast of Grand Isle, Louisiana. The center of the storm is going to move north and then northeast over the next several hours. It looks like it's going to be Gulfport and Biloxi, Mississippi, that take the worst, the strongest east side of the storm a little bit later today. There's Katrina now at 28.9 north, 89.6 west, and it will continue to move on up into the central southeast United States over the next several days, being pushed northward by the upper level winds you see there. And there's the forecast track. Hurricane force winds will extend as far north as northern Mississippi tonight. 78 at Bush right now. We have a nice, quiet, warm, humid morning here in Houston. High temp 97 today. It's just a 20% chance for a shower for us, and we do get a north breeze today, being on the west side, western fringes of the storm. The extended hot and humid through the rest of the work week. There's your weather update. Darby Douglas, traffic update, sir.
Yeah. Actually, we'll talk to Darby in just a few minutes. Thank you so much, David Paul. The time is now 5:48. A cruise ship forced to make an unplanned stop in Galveston to avoid the storm.
And we'll keep you up to date all morning long on Katrina's path.
It's crazy out there in New Orleans. It's storming, it's the wind blowing like crazy.
Katrina comes ashore, packing powerful winds and heavy rains.
This has the potential for catastrophic damage.
New Orleans expected to be ground zero.
We're looking at from 15 to 20 feet of water in the city.
Thousands hunker down in the domed shelter of last resort.
So we've got a very safe and secure environment for them.
While hundreds of thousands more head to Houston to ride out the storm.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining 11 News this morning. I'm Deborah Duncan.
And I'm Ron Trevino. It's now 6 a.m. Before we get to the weather, we have to say that Spring ISD schools will be delayed 3 hours this morning.
Yeah, apparently there was a fire near the bus barn. So again, Spring ISD, the schools will be delayed for 3 hours.
All right, without further delay, David Paul, what's the latest on Katrina?
Well, the storm does continue to weaken a little bit. Maximum sustained winds now are down to 145 miles an hour. It's still a Cat 4 hurricane, but it's not as bad as it could have been. Yesterday, of course, the winds peaked out at about 175 miles an hour. So now winds are down to 145. Here's a look at the radar. I'll put this in motion for you. You can clearly see the circulation now making landfall. The center right here just to the east of Grand Isle, Louisiana. The storm is moving to the north and northeast now at about 15 miles an hour. New Orleans is on the weak side of the storm. They're going to get the left-hand side or the western side of the eye wall. It's going to be very bad weather there, but it's not as bad as it could have been. It's going to be folks to the north and east of the center that get the worst of it, and that looks like it is going to be Gulfport, Mississippi, and Biloxi, Mississippi. So the Mississippi and even Alabama coastline are going to have it worse than the New Orleans area. Now, New Orleans right now getting a tremendously heavy rain band right now coming through Slidell and through New Orleans. And the big fear right now for New Orleans is that this area here, which is Lake Pontchartrain, a very shallow lake, will have the water pushed up against the levees on the north side of the city, and perhaps some of the water from Lake Pontchartrain could be spilling over into New Orleans. Now, so far, I've not had any reports that we've had the levees breached. But that's the biggest fear right now for New Orleans. And of course, they're having hurricane force winds there right now. They've had gusts to 83. And I'm about to get an update from New Orleans to see what the winds have been doing recently. But they've had a wind gust there in New Orleans at the airport up to 83 miles an hour so far this morning. And once again, here's the center of Katrina now making landfall just to the east of Grand Isle, Louisiana. Let's talk about where Katrina has been and where she is going. Katrina came on through the Gulf, and yesterday afternoon, winds peaked out at 175 miles an hour. Incredible. Well, the storm has weakened a bit. It has pulled in some dry air from off the mainland, and that dry air is beginning to wrap into the storm, and that is weakening it, but it's still a strong Category 4 with winds of 145 miles an hour. Katrina is at 29.1 north and 89.6 west. You can see here's the Houston area. We're getting a light north breeze now, and we have some high clouds. But that's all we're seeing from Katrina, and no problems on the coast as far as coastal flooding is concerned, as we're getting that offshore flow as the winds wrap around Katrina. Katrina will continue to bring hurricane force winds well inland into Mississippi today, knock down a tremendous amount of trees and do a lot of damage through Mississippi today and tonight, and then continue to move on off to the north. Bush-Continental Airport this morning, it's 77 degrees. We have a light north breeze. It's just a warm, humid morning here in Houston. All right, 97 is our forecast high today, so a hot, humid day for Houston. 20% rain chance today, and then hot and humid and no real relief from the heat. We'll have highs in the mid to upper 90s for the next several days. There's your weather update. All right, Darby Douglas, you over there doing traffic?
We'll talk to him in just a few minutes. Thank you so much, David Paul.
Hurricane Katrina is making landfall for the second time in less than a week, this time in Louisiana. This was the scene last week in Miami-Dade County, Florida. The storm hit the southeast part of the state and killed 7 people. It has already killed 3 people in Louisiana. Since then, Katrina has crossed over the Gulf and is now headed straight, as we mentioned, for the New Orleans area.
We've got crews monitoring the situation this morning. 11 News reporter Reggie Evacuee is live in Mont Belvieu in Chambers County, where many evacuees are staying. But we'll start with 11 News reporter Janice Williamson. She's live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a little more than an hour west of New Orleans. Janice, how's the weather there right now?
Well, I tell you what, Ron, it's beginning to deteriorate just a little bit. We're starting to see some more rain and some much stronger gusts of winds. I can tell you the streets are pretty much deserted this morning. People here are hunkered down. They are waiting for this storm to pass. Now, a lot of people who evacuated from New Orleans and other low-lying areas are filling up the shelters here. We are told that at least one of them is completely full this morning. We're also told there has been a steady stream of people into those shelters throughout the night. A family from Plaquemine Parish told us they are absolutely glued to the television, that any little piece of new information is comfort to them. Now, we are told that there are about 3,000 people in shelters here. The hotels, of course, are absolutely full. We have not heard of any major power outages yet here today. Of course, we are not expected to feel hurricane force winds here for several more hours. Katrina, of course, did slide a little bit more east. That just keeps this capital city a little bit further away from the storm. And of course, this city is on the good side of the storm. Live in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Janice Williamson, 11 News.
While there was a mandatory evacuation issued by the mayor of New Orleans, some people stayed behind.
Senator Mario Gallegos has an aunt and uncle who are weathering the storm in their home in the French Quarter. Amanda Gallegos is on the phone right now. And Amanda, we checked in with you last hour, and you said it was starting to get rough. What's the weather like now?
Now we're getting much stronger gusts of wind. I took a walk to the rear of the house, and I saw one of my neighbor's trees that has toppled over. It has crossed over 2 property lines into my backyard. Very strong winds, a lot of rain, still no flooding. We're very lucky, no flooding. And just hoping for the best.
Yeah, we had talked
so far, so good.
Yeah, we talked to a trooper a little bit earlier who said that at times people thought they were crying wolf when they asked him to evacuate. He says this time, much stronger storm. What made you all decide that you would stay, given the amount of publicity on how bad this storm could be?
The main reason that we stayed was mostly I have animals, and I have too many animals to travel with, and my husband owns 2 businesses. And we have an old historic home here in New Orleans, and just a variety of reasons.
Yeah. How did you fortify your home, and how high up on the ground or off the ground are you right now?
The home is approximately 5 to 6 feet off the ground, so we are not flat on the ground, which is very lucky. We did the usual fortification. We put plywood on the windows and caulked any cracks and tied everything down that could be blown around with the high winds in the yard.
All right.
And also put the vehicles in a high parking garage to protect them.
Yeah, Amanda Gallegos, you and your husband are riding out that storm, and we wish you the best of luck, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, the time is now 6:08. Residents living in New Orleans and the surrounding areas couldn't get out of town fast enough. Traffic on I-10 from New Orleans to Baton Rouge was backed up for most of the weekend. Yesterday, New Orleans mayor ordered a mandatory evacuation for the first time ever. While most people left, at least 100,000 residents stayed behind. The Superdome is being used as a place of refuge for residents who did not evacuate. Some evacuees made it all the way to Houston, only to find out many hotels were full. Reggie Akey is live in Mont Bellevue, where some of those people are finding shelter now. Good morning, Reggie.
Good morning, and even this shelter here in Mont Bellevue is getting full. They have about 90 people staying here, which is getting close to their capacity, and so they've decided recently to open up a second shelter in Baytown. Many of these folks are driving along the highways along I-10 from New Orleans to Houston and finding there aren't many options for them. As you can see, this is a shot, believe it or not, from 4:30 this morning. It looks more like rush hour, doesn't it? As people are continuing to stream from Louisiana into Texas. And once they get here, they're finding that there aren't really many places to stay. And so this is one of their options this morning, a Red Cross shelter here, where they are just happy to get some coffee and get off the road. We talked to one family that started off in New Orleans yesterday around 1:30 in the afternoon. They got here about an hour ago.
Hope things go all right, so we can go back home, because it was a long route here.
Yes, it was.
Traffic back to back, bumper to bumper. Nothing nice. Nothing nice, man. What I want to do is just give me a couple Z's in.
So here they can get that coffee, they can get a cot, they can even get a shower. Many of them are very worried about their homes and their family members who decided for whatever reason not to leave the New Orleans area. But this morning their primary concern is just to get inside, get a little bit of sleep, and then plan out the rest of the week from there. A lot of them have really no idea when they're going to be able to go back home or how long they're going to need a shelter like this. Reporting live, Reggie Akey, 11 News.
Thank you, Reggie. The time is 6:10. The American Red Cross has opened more than a dozen shelters so far. 5 are in Texas, including the one in Chambers County at the Mont Bellevue Senior Center on Eagle Drive. Evacuees are advised to call the Red Cross first to make sure there is still room available. There is a toll-free number to get information about shelters in case you know someone looking for a place to stay. That number is 1-866-GET-INFO, 1-866-GET-INFO. We've also learned that anybody with a Louisiana license plate will have a spot to park downtown for free. Those drivers can head to the Apex parking lot on Leland and LaBranch.